All right, good morning, second block. Remember, I am not going to be live today, but I'm going to go over a few things with photosynthesis and what you are working on today. So, first, let's look at our agenda in our modules. Yesterday, we talked about or reviewed ATP, photosynthesis, not photosynthesis, ATP and cellular respiration. I have three Kahoots here that are set up as challenges. You need to do those three Kahoots, and I need to move them. I'll move them up under Thursday. Go through those three Kahoots, and then there is a quiz here on cellular respiration and fermentation. Let me back up a minute. If you haven't watched the video on fermentation, you need to do that before doing the quiz. So you're going to go through the three Kahoots. You're going to take the quiz, and the quiz isn't in Canvas, it's actually in a quizzes. And I sent you a link to try to join my class, but you don't actually have to join my class to take it. I was confused in setting up. So if it asks you to do any type of logging in, log in always with your Google account, school account. Uh, and the quiz should work. If by some chance it doesn't work, screenshot whatever message you get, email it to me, and as soon as I get back home tomorrow, I will get back with you. Once you have taken the quiz, you can then go into photosynthesis. So I want to switch back over here and I want to talk a little bit about photosynthesis. I want you to first look at the formula we have here, this part right here. Notice it looks very similar to respiration. If you flip the respiration equation over, you would have photosynthesis. So these equations are kind of think of them as opposites of each other. We still have reactants. Reactants are always on the left. We have products. Products are always on the right. So in photosynthesis, we're going to be using carbon dioxide, we're going to be using water, and we're going to be using sunlight, and we're going to make the sugar, glucose, and make oxygen. And this is done in plants that are photosynthetic, plants that can carry out photosynthesis. And so here's even a picture of that equation. You need to be able to recognize the equation. You need to know the reactants. You need to know the products of both photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Here's another little general picture here of photosynthesis. We get sunlight, and in the leaves of plants, there are in those leaf cells there is an organelle called chlorophyll. A chlorophyll is going or a pigment chlorophyll that's in chloroplast, and the chlorophyll absorbs the wavelengths and from the sun, and it traps that light energy into the chloroplast, and the water that the plant takes in and carbon dioxide that the plant takes in that carries out that chemical reaction, and um, it releases um, oxygen and then glucose, which is starch and is stored in food. Caroline, I'm recording. All right, so here is a picture of a chloroplast. And so, what is going to happen with this chloroplast is that it's going to take those ingredients that we talked about um, of the water and the carbon dioxide and the light, and it's going to carry out a reaction and it's going to produce glucose and oxygen. So inside a chloroplast, you have several parts. The chloroplast has two membranes. It has an outer membrane and an inner membrane. Um, it also has these stacks here. Each individual pancake, I like to call them, is a thylakoid, and the stacks of them are called a grana. And inside each of these stacks is a lumen, and then you have outside it is an area called the stroma. And so the membrane of the thylakoid, someone write the word membrane out here, it is where all of this is going to start. And if you remember, in cellular respiration, it ended with an electron chain transport. Well, this is the first part. The absorbing of the light energy is taking place on the thylakoid membrane, and it's going to involve an electron transport to get that energy transported into these energy molecules right here, energy carriers, and carry it over to the cycle that is going to take place over here in the stroma of the chloroplast. So there are sort of two reactions that are taking place. You've got light reactions, which mean they involve the sunlight, and it is going to be the chlorophyll that's in the thylakoid membranes are going to capture, absorb the sunlight. And that energy is going to be passed down the electron transport chain and is going to be stored in a little bit of ATP and NADPH. So our energy carrying molecules are down here. So photosynthesis makes a tiny bit of ATP just so that it can carry out its process. And then it's got that energy carrying molecule. And then when the ATP and the NADPH leaves the membrane, it's into the stroma area. It's kind of like cytoplasm for the chloroplast, and it's going to go through a light independent reaction. Sometimes it's been called in the past the dark reaction, but it doesn't occur at night. It doesn't need light at this point. And so to back up a minute, the at the electron transport chain, water is used and the hydrogens are stripped off the water and the oxygen is left over, so oxygen is released. So here are your products down here. So from the electron transport chain, you have your products being released. Then carbon dioxide is going to be used in the light independent reaction. And that carbon dioxide is going to be combined with these hydrogens from the NADPH and the energy from the ATP. And it's going to build a glucose molecule. And so at the end, it's going to have a glucose molecule, which then can combine with other glucoses and make starch, and it is stored in plants, typically in their roots. And other animals will eat the plants. We eat vegetables, which are plants, and we eat some animals that eat plants. So we eventually benefit from this energy that is made in through photosynthesis in the chloroplast. Now, there are some organisms that don't photosynthesize. They actually, if they live in some extreme environments like hydrothermal vents, they will use other chemicals instead of sunlight and go through a process similar to photosynthesis to make food. So you might see the term chemosynthesis. That just means it uses chemicals to build food molecules, and but we're more interested in the photosynthesis. So that kind of gives you an overview. The videos I've posted, or the one video, photosynthesis. Is um, going to go in through the details of photosynthesis a little more. And then there's a photosynthesis animation activity that you will work on next week. And then we'll be reviewing, and it'll be time to test again. But also, remember, you're going to, I think I mentioned this, you're going to have a preview video of for our red ribbon month of October is for drug awareness. And so you need to do the discussion that says introduction. It is for ribbon week. And so everybody in their second block will be doing an introduction or looking at this introduction and responding within that class for that. To those questions. And then you'll have some videos on Fridays after this. And then hopefully the week that we return from school, I believe, we may celebrate or we may be doing it virtually the week before we return. So just listen out for that. Remember, Friday, there are no assignments. Um, but if there's anything in this current unit that we're working on, you've got to get you. I would use that time to work on it. If you're caught up, that's great. Anything in getting started, biology basics or cells, any of that is due tomorrow. I have to have that work tomorrow so I can get my grades in on Friday. The quarter ends, and so Friday's a work day. We need to have our grades in. If you don't have it in tomorrow, you're going to get the grade that is showing up. I'm going to work on grades some tomorrow and Friday, and so you can have that updated. If you have any questions, email me as soon as I return tomorrow. I will get with anybody who has an email has any um, questions. I'll try to be on at 1:30 and 2 o'clock. And you guys, even though it's not your day or anything, you can pop in if you have a question. You just need to get in touch with me.